the Pope who put a corpse on trial. Rome. The year, 897. The bells echo through the Basilica of St. John Lateran. But this time, there is no mass, no coronation. What's about to happen is one of the most macabre events in the history of the Vatican. Pope Stephen VI is preparing to put his predecessor on trial. Only one problem: the accused had been dead for months. To understand this absurd and terrifying story, we must go back a few years. Betrayal, scandals, and power. For centuries, the Vatican has been a symbol of faith, devotion, and also of absolute power. But were all those who wore the papal tiara saints? No. Some popes, far from representing holiness, left a mark defined by excess, ambition, and the darkest secrets of the Vatican. They wrote dark chapters in the history of the Church, filled with corruption and scandal. Get ready, because you are about to meet the most feared, hated, and dark popes who ever sat on the throne of St. Peter. John XII, the Pope of Lust. He rose to the papal throne at only 18 years old, in the year 955. From the beginning, he showed no interest in spiritual responsibilities. He turned the Vatican into a palace of pleasures. He held private meetings full of women who were not there to pray at the Lateran. He sold ecclesiastical positions in exchange for personal favors, and according to some chroniclers, he drank excessively, toasting to the health of the devil and invoking dark spirits in his chambers. He used the Vatican's resources as if they were his own. He died at only 26 years old under mysterious circumstances in the room of a married woman, which sparked all kinds of rumors among the faithful and a reputation that scandalized all of Christendom. And even so, he was buried with honors. Benedict IX, the Pope who sold the papacy. He was Pope 3 times. Can you imagine? Elected 3 times, expelled twice, and on one occasion, he sold the throne of St. Peter as if it were an old piece of furniture, causing one of the greatest crises of authority in the history of the Church. His papacy was full of scandals, bribes, excommunications, and betrayals, so corrupt that even the Vatican itself called him a disgrace to the chair of St. Peter. Rome burned in violence due to the conflicts between noble families who supported him or wanted him gone. He faced strong accusations of heresy, sacrilege, and forbidden relations, mentioned by chroniclers like the monk Gregory of Catino. He was so hated that he ended up being forcibly removed. After being expelled and replaced, Benedict IX returned and tried to reclaim the throne again, causing total chaos. For a time, there were 3 popes at the same time. Who was the legitimate one? No one knew. This period of crisis was so severe that Emperor Henry III of the Holy Roman Empire had to intervene to depose all rival popes and restore order in the Church. Alexander VI, the Patriarch of the Borgias. His surname says it all, Rodrigo Borgia. He was not only pope, he was the founder of a mafia-like family dynasty with great power. He used his new power to elevate his family to the top of Europe. His influence benefited his children Lucrezia and Cesare Borgia. Although as pope he was supposed to be celibate, he appointed them as cardinals, governors, and nobles. He amassed wealth and controlled territories. During his papacy, the halls of the Vatican were filled with political intrigue, secret alliances, and decisions driven by self-interest. He hosted banquets filled with women, gatherings that shocked even those of his time. It is said that Cesare Borgia, his favorite son, acted as his executing arm, eliminating enemies, negotiating with warlords, and consolidating Borgia power through force and cunning. The name of the Borgias became associated with mysterious disappearances, dinners with hidden intentions, and political rivals who, after a glass of wine, never got back up. And yet, he was also a great political strategist. He amassed fortunes and ordered the removal of anyone who stood in his way. In 1503, Alexander VI suddenly fell ill. Was it a fever or a mistake with a drink meant for someone else? The truth is he died in circumstances as strange as his life. His body, some say, decomposed so quickly they could barely hold awake. And with his death, the power of the Borgias began to crumble. Cesare was wounded and fell from grace. Lucrezia was sent away, and the Vatican tried to erase their traces. Sixtus IV, the Pope who sold indulgences and architect of the Sistine Chapel. Does the Sistine Chapel sound familiar? It bears his name, but this Pope was not just a patron of the arts. He was also the one who normalized charging for spiritual benefits, the business of salvation. And the most shocking, he gave his blessing to a conspiracy against the Medici, one of the most powerful families in Italy. The attack took place during a mass, causing a monumental scandal. Though he tried to justify himself, he was marked marked as one of the most calculating popes in history. Stephen VI, the pope who tried a corpse. In the 9th century, the papal throne was a political battlefield. Each Roman faction, each powerful family, wanted a pope on their side. Positions were bought, sold, and inherited as if they were crowns. One of those popes was Formosus, an educated man with powerful enemies. He was elected supreme pontiff in 891 and, although his papacy was short, it left a mark and enemies. Among them was Stephen VI. When Stephen reached the papacy, his reign was driven by resentment. It wasn't enough to erase Formosus' name. He wanted to destroy his memory, literally. Thus was born the most grotesque trial of all time, the cadaver synod. Formosus' body, buried months earlier, was exhumed, dressed in papal robes and seated on a throne. In the middle of a tribunal, Stephen summoned cardinals and bishops, and before everyone, he accused the remains of Formosus of having occupied the papacy illegally, of betraying Rome, and of transgressing sacred rules. Of course, the accused could not respond, so Stephen placed a deacon beside him to speak for him. A scene that sounds absurd today, but actually happened before the astonished eyes of the church and the people. The trial ended as expected. Guilty. The sentence? Brutal. Formosus' body was stripped of his sacred vestments. 3 fingers, the ones used to bless, were cut off, and his remains were thrown into the Tiber River as a public punishment. The city was in shock. Even by the standards of the time, this was too much. The people of Rome reacted with fury. The trial was considered a mockery of divine order and a senseless desecration. Ecclesiastical politics had reached a point of no return. Months later, a popular uprising erupted against Stephen VI. He was captured, imprisoned, and later found lifeless in his cell. Urban VI, the Pope who tortured cardinals. The year is 1378. In the depths of the Vatican, a storm of intrigue, betrayal, and fear ignites. A new Pope has been elected, and although he bears the name Urban, his temperament is far from celestial. His name was Bartolomeo Prignano, but the world would remember him as Urban VI, the pontiff who not only faced a spiritual war, but also persecuted, imprisoned, and punished his own cardinals. Urban quickly made enemies. He shouted, insulted, and publicly humiliated the cardinals. He demanded austerity, accused them of corruption and heresy, and rejected all suggestions. He even accused several of conspiring against him. Without any proof, in response to his behavior, a group of French cardinals declared that his election had been invalid due to popular pressure, and they named another pope, Clement VI. Thus began the Great Western Schism. 2 popes at the same time, one in Rome and one in Avignon. They excommunicated each other, and Europe was split into factions. But Urban did not only fight his rival, he also launched an internal hunt. Convinced that some cardinals were planning to depose him, he ordered their arrest. In 1385, at least 6 were imprisoned in Nocera. The punishment? Days of confinement, isolation, intense interrogations, and according to contemporary accounts, screams of suffering were heard coming from the palace. One by one, they were punished until their last breath, and Urban, instead of hiding it, he boasted about it. He claimed it was for the good of the church. Urban ruled from 1378 to 1389. He died without regret, and without his actions ever being officially annulled. The schism he started lasted nearly 40 years. During that time, Europe had 2 and even 3 popes at once, each claiming to be the true successor of Peter. Pius XII, the Pope of Silence during the Horror. Rome, 1939. The shadows of war stretch across Europe. In the heart of the Vatican, a new pope is elected, Eugenio Pacelli. He takes the name Pius XII. He is cultured, reserved, and diplomatic, but the world would soon demand more than wisdom. It would demand a voice, one that many claim he never raised. Pius XII was elected in March, months before the outbreak of the Second World War. He had served as nuncio in Germany. He knew up close the rising threat, and also the dangers of opposing it. From the very beginning, he adopted a position of neutrality. He claimed the church should remain apart from political conflicts. But soon, that position began to seem far too quiet. While troops marched, while concentration camps were built, while millions were persecuted, deported, and exterminated, the Vatican remained silent. Pius XII never publicly condemned, by name, the crimes that shook Europe. Not the perpetrators, not the leaders of the regime that orchestrated the horror. Why? Some say it was strategy, that any condemnation might have provoked retaliation. Even the invasion of the Vatican, that by staying silent, he protected thousands hidden in convents, churches, and embassies, but others see in that silence something far worse. An unforgivable indifference, a silence that legitimized evil through passivity. There are records showing that Pius XII allowed persecuted people to be hidden within the Vatican walls, that he gave secret orders to save lives in Hungary, Italy, and France, but always discreetly, never from the pulpit. He never spoke a public word. When the ghettos were empty, when the trains departed from Rome, just kilometers from the Vatican, he never named the responsible. After the war ended, many survivors thanked his silent efforts. Others accused him of remaining silent in the face of evil. And so, a question was born that still divides the world today. Was he a silent protector or a passive witness to horror? But that was not the most shocking part. After his death, in 1958, Pius XII's body was prepared in haste by an inexperienced doctor, using the wrong chemicals. During the vigil, the heat did its work, and then, before the eyes of everyone present, the body exploded, a moment of panic, confusion, and pure horror, a Dantesque image that many considered symbolic. The physical collapse of what many said was already a moral one. The papal throne has been occupied by sages, by visionaries, and also by men consumed by power, ambition, and control. These stories are not legends. They are documented in the archives of the Vatican, and they remind us of one uncomfortable truth. Power, without limits, can darken even the most sacred light. The throne of St. Peter has, at times, been more an iron crown than a divine symbol. And you? Do you think there are still secrets buried beneath the Vatican? Because the stories of the papacy are far from over. They are just waiting to be unearthed.